showing that law enforcement committed criminal conduct during the 2020 George Floyd protests here in Austin. Today, we will give you several updates related to that inquiry. First, the special grand jury considering these matters has concluded its work. Although we are prohibited by law from discussing those proceedings or disclosing specific information about the grand jury's decisions, we do anticipate that multiple indictments will be forthcoming in the days ahead. If indictments are issued under state law, we will be prohibited from disclosing the existence of that indictment until the person indicted is booked through the intake process of the county jail. Second, I want to remind you that an indictment handed down by a grand jury is a preliminary decision that probable cause exists to believe a crime was committed. It is not a statement as to the guilt or innocence of any person indicted. That determination will not be made until much later in the process, and until then, any person who may be indicted is presumed innocent. A thorough investigation was conducted before our office's presentation to the grand jury. The facts discovered during that investigation are disturbing. First, we believe many protesters injured by law enforcement officers during the protest were innocent bystanders. We also believe that the overwhelming majority of victims in the incidents that were investigated suffered significant and lasting injuries. Those injuries include significant and serious injuries to the head, face, and body. Some will never fully recover. In fact, I note that today, the Austin City Council has settled or has agreed to settle 2 lawsuits for 2 men injured by law enforcement during the 2020 protests. Finally, based on that investigation, we know that the majority of victims were injured by a deadly weapon capable of causing serious bodily injury and death. If these facts are verified through future legal proceedings, they have serious repercussions for the Austin and Travis County community. Our community is safer when our community trusts law enforcement, when it believes that law enforcement follows the law and protects the people who live here. When the community does not believe that that is true, it is less likely to report crime. People are less likely to act as witnesses. People are more likely to take the law into their own hands. If people do not trust law enforcement, our community is less safe. There cannot be trust if there is no accountability when law enforcement breaks the law. Now I'd like to introduce you to Dexter Guilford, who leads our office's Civil Rights Unit. Mr. Guilford will talk to you a little bit about the grand jury process.
Thank you, DA Garza. Good afternoon. My name is Dexter Guilford. I am the Director of the Travis County District Attorney's Civil Rights Unit. On October 27, 2021, Travis County District Court impaneled a special grand jury to hear cases in the Civil Rights Unit of our office. In the process, members of our community were appointed to serve as grand jurors, selected randomly from eligible members of our community summoned by the district clerk's office. All Travis County grand juries are independent of the district attorney's office. Their role is to inquire into potential offenses occurring within their jurisdiction, and they have the ultimate decision-making authority as to the individuals and the offenses they choose to consider. Our role is to advise them of offenses liable to indictment. They have ultimate decision-making authority as to whether a person is formally charged with a crime, and if so, what charges to return. State law requires that evidence presented and witnesses appearing before the grand jury remain secret. After a grand jury has heard the evidence and witnesses, they deliberate in secret away from the presence of the district attorney's staff. When they have concluded their deliberations, they notify us of their decisions. It is then that we take over the case where it will be pending in a Travis County District Court. I know that there will be questions about next steps and what to expect. We are unable to release specific information about the decisions of the grand jury until procedural requirements have been met. Because the presumption of innocence and the integrity of any ongoing ancillary investigations that may still be pending, we will keep our remarks about these cases brief. I would like to reiterate a few of DA Garza's points. First, we believe that many of the protesters injured during the protests by law enforcement officers were innocent bystanders. We also believe that the overwhelming majority of the victims injured suffered significant and lasting injuries. Finally, we know that the majority of victims were injured by a deadly weapon capable of causing serious bodily injury or death. Finally, I want to be clear that our investigation into these matters continue. As our inquiry evolves, we will continue to communicate updates through the civil rights unit's summaries our office issues and posts every 2 weeks. Now I'd like to turn the remainder of our remarks back over to DA Garza.
Thank you, Dexter. I want to address one final topic. There are some people in this community and across the state who insist that there must never be accountability for law enforcement if they break the law. Some of them have already suggested that our office's review of the 2020 protests have been biased and that we are targeting police while letting others off scot-free. That could not be further from the truth, and it is time to put that nonsense to bed. First, the information that our office presents to the grand jury in all cases is complete and balanced. Second, our office prosecuted 33 cases against people who engaged in criminal conduct during the protest, including 11 cases that are still pending. Our office investigates and prosecutes any person who causes harm in our community, regardless of who causes it. Thank you so much for your time. That concludes our press conference this afternoon. If you have follow-up questions, please email them to Ismael Martinez, and we can get back to you as quickly as we can. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Does everybody have my contact information? Yeah? Okay.